And welcome back to a new podcast episode. Glad to have you here. Thank you for taking your time out to listen to this podcast specifically. I really do appreciate every single listen. Today, we're going to talk about something important, something deep. And basically saying the art of getting shit done. And actually, I put a poll out on my Instagram stories of like, hey, should I cuss more? Because like when I'm on video or audio, just because in real life, in person, and Lex will attest to this the most that like I cuss like every other 4 words. But on social media on YouTube, I try to not do that just because in case you're playing it in your car with your family, your kids, or whatever. Like I don't I don't want it to upset anyone. So I might introduce a few more swear words here and there, just because like that is like that's how I naturally talk. Not crazy, but I might be a bit more. I might. Anyway, so today we're gonna talk about getting shit done, meaning when things are getting tough, or regardless of how tough it is or how big of a climb it is, to still go out and get it done simply due to the fact that it has to get done. And the main thing I'm gonna do here is just go back to some examples over the last call it 10 years, 8 years, of my experience, of my journey, of where things just got tough, and regardless of what it was, like it had to get done and I had to go through it. And this isn't to play like the who look at me like I'm so badass card or anything like that. It's more so of just to shine some light on, look, in some scenarios, in some situations, at some point in your life, in your journey, in your career, and what you're trying to do, look, it's gonna get nasty. It's gonna get tough. It's gonna get hard. It's gonna get it's gonna make you feel uncomfortable. It's gonna make you have your back to your wall. It's gonna make you feel like can you really go through this again? And on those days, it's just you have the decision to say I'll go through it, or no, I'll just I'll wait it out, or I'll not go that route because I don't want to go through that. So don't think I'm putting challenges on a pedestal, or like going through hard times on a pedestal, but it's more so like, look, it's gonna happen whether you like it or not. Like it's going to happen to you, right? And it's your decision to say or to act on what happens with what occurs in your life. And there's gonna be varying degree of like what bad is, right? All in all, what I always say is like, the hard tribulations that I went through, it's like if you put everything's always a perspective, right? Like if if the way I learned a lot, and the way that I've learned a lot of my like leadership skills, or like my like how to build a resilient mentality, the way I have learned, the way I take most knowledge and wisdom and experience from, the way I do it is through reading anything World War II related. Yes, there's plenty of other wars. I get it. World War One, Korea. Yes, but the one that I primarily look into is anything World War II related, right? Whether it's Allies, whether it's Germany, like whatever it is, like I've learned so much from reading books, to listening to podcasts, to watching movies, to watching documentaries, to like anything World War II related. When they talk about the troops, when they talk about what they've gone through, when they talk about their leadership, when they talk about like just good and bad too, right? I'm not saying, oh yeah, the hero that went and killed all these people and saved his whatever. No, it's just like the people that just went through it, the ones that were fighting in the coldest of cold, wet, no supplies, no resources, no help, like things of that nature, is where I have taken the most knowledge of. Oh, so that's how a leader leads. Oh, so look how like the mental fortitude these individuals had to be in such a crap condition and to still fight it out because their cause was bigger than what they were currently going through. So again, like you can always, it depends on how your perspective on things and on how you look at this situation. So to me, anything that I say here, it's like I always know like, okay, but this isn't nowhere near as bad as what it could be, right? It can always be worse, right? So again, not saying that anyone's is less than whatever, but it's like it is always in perspective, right? So anyway, so let's kind of take a walk down memory lane to see some instances where it's just about, hey, look, get it done, and hopefully with this, it's like, hey, look, if you're thinking about starting your business, if you're thinking about, whether just starting, whether it's maybe quitting, maybe it's like lowering your hours, whatever the case may be, like hopefully you take this and you're like, okay, so everyone goes through this, everyone struggles, everyone has a little bit of worry, everyone has a little bit of fear, everyone thinks it might not work out. Like hopefully this just kind of gives you a little bit of motivation to say, okay, so I'm not the only one that struggles. I'm not the only one that has to go through crap. Because trust me, you're not the only one. Everyone has to go through crap. Everyone has to eat crap. Everyone is going to be faced with tough decisions. Everyone's going to have to make that decision at the fork of the road to say, do I do this or do I not do this? Right? Everyone's going to go through it. So, so there's no particular order. I'm just kind of talking as I kind of remembered some things I wanted to touch points on. And another thing is to clarify is that like, and I say this all the time, where like just because you see me or listen to me on podcast, on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever the case may be, it's like I don't have everything figured out. No one you watch has it figured out. No one. Right? If you're like, oh man, they just got a new shop. Oh, they're offering new products now. Oh man, they just hired 2 other people. Oh man, like they just got whatever. Oh, they just hit 10 million in revenue. Oh, they have it all good. It's like everyone is literally still just figuring it out. Like everyone. So don't ever look at someone and say, oh well, I can't beat that company or I can't beat that person or oh man, I'm too far behind now to start, because you're not, right? If you see someone, hit 10 million in revenue, they're still like, man, so what's the next steps? How do we get there? If you're going from 0 to 1,000, you're saying, okay, so what do I do? How do I get there? It's all relative, granted, at different playing fields, but like no one is like, oh yes, that person, they never make a wrong move. Like everyone is still trying to figure it out. So exact same thing, like everything I'm going to talk to you here about is like at all points in everything. Like right now I can talk about, oh yes, if you want to hire, if you want to train, if you want to onboard, if you want to do like bring on someone to payroll, I can help you with all those steps because like I've gone through it. I've gone through all the problems, but I went through all the problems. I went through all the challenges. I went through all the headaches. I went through all the obstacles to overcome on trying to figure out how to properly do everything, So it's like you don't learn and you can't get good at anything if you don't go through the trials and tribulations of what that one thing is. So it could be a number of things in a variety of things that could happen, right? So, going all the way back to when I was still by myself, no shop, no big van. And this is when I was still working at a job. So I've told the story, on a previous podcast. So I'll touch on this shortly, but, there was like about 6 months, like a solid 6 months where I was working 2 jobs. I was working from, one was a full-time job, one was a part-time job, and then I would still detail on the side. So I would detail from like 7 to 12 p.m. and then go to work from 1 to 5 p.m. or 1 to 5:30 p.m. depending on the day, and then I would go and clock in at my second job, the full-time job, from 5:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. And the reason why that could work is because like just imagine a shopping center. My first part-time job was like the first building or the first tenant. And then my second job was literally like 10 steps away, which is why I was able to get out at 5 o'clock or 5:15, 5:30 and clock in at like 5:30 because like they're literally right next to each other. And that means like a lot of times, if I detailed from 7 to 12, I would eat lunch in my car on the way to my first job. If I needed to eat again, I needed to eat again. I would eat because at the second job that I had, the full-time job, it was we did commercial carpet cleaning, so we would drive to the offices. So I would eat like my lunch as we drove to the second location. I didn't really have like a break. And then our actual break time at the carpet cleaning company was at like around like 10 or 11 p.m., right? Because we're working the night shift, so that's like our lunchtime. So that's when I would get sit down for a little bit and eat, and then go back to work from 11:30 to 2 a.m. Depending on the day, sometimes it would be sometimes we'd end the day earlier, so we might get out like at 10 or 11 or 12. Other days we might get out at 3, 4 in the morning, just depending on what exactly we had on for that schedule. But even with that schedule, like I did that for about 6 months straight of like detail in whatever free slots that I had, and then go work my 2 jobs. And at the time, like again, like that was just like a blink of time, because like there was basically so much work that I had to do, right? Because I had my 2 jobs, and then I was still trying to detail. Where it's like, but at that time, like I was obviously like very passionate and hungry to like get out of that situation. So I would get every job that I can as a detailer, because like I wanted to get that, I wanted to get those jobs in so I can actually create revenue, so I could leave. And yeah, that was like a solid 6 months of just like doing that day in, day out. And again, like That's working like 50 plus hours a week at my day jobs. On top of that, adding the detailing jobs that I could fit in wherever I could. And again, it wasn't fun. I wasn't happy about it. It wasn't something I would like to do again. But like at that time, that's what it called for. So it's like, I just got it done, you know? So next one here, and again, I have a full podcast episode on this one. So if you want to listen to more, I forget which podcast episode it is, but it's like a few episodes ago. So if you want to learn more about that one, just go listen to the other podcast episode. So yeah, so another one is, let's say, again, like even finding Lex, right? Like right now you guys see Lex, we're working together, we're a partnership, like we're doing all these things together, but it's like, okay, before I found Lex, it was like, I have to go find someone, right? It's like, how do you find someone? I don't know, right? Is there a resource where you can just find people to partner up with? Is there like a spot that you just email like, hey, can you send me one of your guys? No, it's literally like doing the necessary groundwork to find someone, right? And I'll keep this one short just because like it's very unique to like it's very unique to my situation on how I found that person, on how I found Lex. But it's like you still have to do your due diligence. Like, okay, so what is a proper partnership? How do I do this? Do I, what lure do I get? How much is that going to cost? Like, how do I make sure that this person is the right fit? How do I validate everything that he's saying? Like, so on my end, it's like, okay, I have to do all the due diligence to make sure this is going to actually work right. And it's like, I didn't know anything about the legal process. I didn't know anything about the partnership process. I didn't know anything about whatever it was, right? And it's like, okay, well, here goes me just starting to Google everything, contacting lawyers, looking at what's the right process, looking at all these things, paying the money to the lawyer to write up the contract or whatever. Like it was like a long process, but it's like, you go through all that crap and the slow process and the tedious process to get to that end result that you want. So now 2 years later, is it more than 2 years? Like 3 years, I think. 3 years later, no. Obviously, the Lex and I are working fantastic to this day. We have a great relationship. We get along. Like it's like he's like great partnership that we have, and not just partnership, but obviously like we're good friends. Like we're always hanging out. We're always talking more than just business. We have similar interests, so it's worked out great, but at the same time though, it's like, I couldn't get to that point unless I went through the 20 other steps I had to take. And a lot of it's just like, do I go this way? No. Do I go that way? Okay, that didn't work. Do I go this way? Oh, that didn't work. Okay, let me go this way. Okay, that didn't work either. Like, it's just a lot of like, okay, just trying to find little, routes that you can take to get to the next step to ultimately end up in your final destination. And in this case, it was to try to get Lex as a partner. So the next thing, if we want to just continue on that one, was eventually we started hiring. We needed to hire an employee, just one. And at that point, and I kid you, like this was like a 2 year, not a 2 year, maybe like a 1 year problem of where I was like, we hired Alex at the time. And again, like fast forward 2 years and it's like, oh yeah, the hiring process is simple. The not simple, but like there's a system for it now. There's a process for it now. We know the steps to take. We know we have this big old document on onboarding. We dedicate a few 8 hours for just training. But none of that was like obvious at the time. And for a year, like just banging my head against the wall of like, how do you do this? What's the right process? Like, and it's like you keep on trying and iterating on these little things to be like, okay, like how do we get this to work? Like, how does this actually function? How do we get this to actually work in a viable manner that we need it to? And it was just like day after day, week after week, is like, okay, let's try this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. Okay, there was something there. Let's keep on going there. Now let's adjust this. Okay, that didn't work. And it's like just a year of like, try this, try that, try this, try that. And don't get me wrong, like throughout that time, it's like we're making mistakes. Like, we're going back to customers. We're kind of slowing down the schedule, like where we overbook sometimes, like I'm working longer hours. Like a lot of things are happening, and it's like you just have to have that like that mental fortitude of like, okay, like we got to figure this out. Like it's weighing heavy on my mind. Like this is the only thing that it's like the main problem we've been having for a while, but it's like we got to figure it out. And even with the editor, I mean, I went through technically. I think I went through 4 editors for like 2 years straight before we hired Justin. Now, again, that 100% goes back to like trying to figure out what's going to work, right? Like, and so I never had like a consistent editor for about 2 years because I was just trying to find like, okay, does this work? Would that work? Would this work? Would that work? Could we do this? Could we do that? And again, it's just like, you don't see it online because like everything is just highlights in the day. But again, like for 2 years, I was like, how do I figure this part out? Like, how do I get an editor? How do I train someone? Like, how do they follow my system? But then now you look at what Justin and I have in place so far, as far as creating content and the system and all that, and it's like it's a lot more robust and it's a lot more fluid than what it was 2 years ago. But again, like you don't understand the frustration, the problems that I had to try to go through, like how much it slowed me down, like how much I had to how much energy I have to use for those problems when I could use that energy like somewhere else to like to actually grow the business and make money. But again, it's like you keep on going through these problems and you keep on pushing on the problem because you know at some point you're gonna break through. And once you break through that problem, it's like, okay, now we just leveled up. Like everything I just went through, all the problems we had, like we just went bloop, we just leveled up because now like we have a new baseline, we have a new platform to work off of. And now, kid you, like if you go talk to Oscar from 2 years ago and you look at how he was creating content to how Oscar is now and how Oscar, me, is creating content, it's like it's a night and day difference. And again, there's a lot of learnings in that in itself. It's a lot of things that I realize and how to do things and how to systemize things and how to do the hiring process. Like it just you learn so much. And look, like you might think, oh well, it's I hope one day to be in your position, Oscar. I hope one day to whatever. It's like you're already in that position, right? Like you're already learning, you're already growing, you're already do things. It might not seem like it right now because oh well, I'm only making $3,000 a month and I need to get to 9,000. 100% true. I agree with that as well. But it's like you are learning right now because what you're learning right now and what you're going through right now is what you're going to use 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now to say, oh yeah, but back then is when I learned how to do that because now from that experience, applying it to here now, you're able to do whatever. So like right now, you are in the process that I am. Like you are learning, you are figuring things out. And like even right now, like give me 6 months and then I'm going to be like, oh, whoa, like I discovered this new thing that helped me grow my business so much. And like, if you look back at Oscar in 2023, it's much different than Oscar in 2026. Like that's just naturally how it goes. So you just like, you have to be aware that that's going to happen, that like the problems are going to come and like you will learn so much and you will be able to do so much more by going through all those problems. But man, yeah, like the whole editor thing, like that took me a long while. So like now, even though we have Justin and he helps out a lot with the editing, right? But even with him, like, again, for every one solution, 5 other problems come about, right? So we have greatly elevated our content game, right? As far as editing, like for me, I don't edit. I probably, for the amount of content that we produce, as far as editing, like I'm the one actually editing the content, it's probably around like 20% now that I actually edit. Obviously, 100% of the content, I'm the talent, right? I'm the one in front of the camera. So it's like I now see like the next evolution of like, okay, I know that like to keep on elevating the content game, it would help to have another editor and shooter so that we can keep all things a lot more consistent. And I'm not going to get into the weeds of the content part, but it's like, because I elevated from, I'm just trying to find an editor to help me what I have now. Now that that's like kind of, hit the baseline and like we have a new threshold. Now it's saying, okay, now that we have Justin in place, now that we're able to create this amount of content and this level of quality of content, if I hire someone else, we're able to now take another step forward and be more consistent, create better content, and be able to spend more time on certain content because now there's more personnel able to like juggle more content. And again, like it's the amounts of headaches that I went through to try to get the content side down. And again, like this is just the beginning. Like this 2023, for all of that I've been doing, is like it's still just like the absolute first step, starting point, and the long journey of what we're trying to do. Okay, so another thing is just shooting the content for like Proper Care and Detail Groove. Like before we got the second shop, before we got Unit 105, which is 3,000 square feet, right? We had everything in Unit 104, which is 1,500 square feet, right? So because we had everything in one shop, right? And I could only record out of one shop. I would either get there way before the customers started arriving, or I would stay after the customers were gone to shoot content. So let's say I needed to shoot a podcast at Like let's say I would go and shoot a podcast at 6 a.m. because everyone gets here at 8 a.m. Right? And I wanted to shoot it, edit it, and publish it. Or let's say I wanted to shoot content for Proper Care for like the Instagram or TikTok or whatever. So let's say after working already, say 7 to 5, 7 to 6, once all the cars would leave, I would then bring all my camera equipment and then I would basically do another detail because I would want to shoot content for the social media channels and I would be there from like, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. trying to get content. And it's like, I didn't like it. It was annoying, but it's like, that is the only solution I had at the time. It's like, okay, well, I'll just try to get content before and after and try to make this work. And and you could just tell like the quality of content wasn't good because like I was always in that rush mindset of like, oh damn, okay, I only have a few hours. Let's go. Like try to get as much content as we can. And it didn't turn out well. So that's why when we got the new shop, Unit 105, like a lot of things got a lot better as far as the content because like it gave me, I wasn't in that mindset of like rushing to like, okay, like I gotta get content because in 2 hours the customers get here. Now don't get me wrong, getting the shop was also not like an easy choice of like, oh yeah, just add an additional $3,500 to our bill. That's easy. Like that also wasn't like just like a quick decision that I made. Like I contemplated on getting the second shop, the Unit 105. I think for like 3 months actually. Like I was like, is this gonna work out? Is it good? Like I'm kind of scared. That's a lot of money. We're in another contract for 2 years. Like, is it gonna work out? What if business slows down? What if we don't make money? What if all these different things? And even with that, like even learning how to juggle between the Unit 105, Unit 104, it's like that in itself was a problem as well. So like hopefully you get that the theme of this thing is like everything was a problem. Everything had a lot of obstacles. It took a long time to figure out, but then once we figured out, it allowed us to elevate to the next level, and then a new set of problems come in that you have to do the same process to keep on elevating. Like that's literally what you do at every turn in business. Like you as a business owner, as the entrepreneur, your job, your only job every single day from now until forever is that you're solving problems. That's literally it. You are solving problems. That's your job because you're the one starting this. You're the one that has the vision. You're the one that knows where you want to go. So your job every day, whether it's like, okay, yeah, I guess, where do we order our water from to, okay, so where do we move our location to for the next 5 years? All those responsibilities, all those questions, all those problems are on you to figure out and to make sure you're moving in the right direction. And again, it's all based on your goals and what you want to achieve, right? Like it's going to be a different ball game from someone that wants to make $6,000 a month, working from home or, just making $6,000 a month versus someone that wants to make $60,000 a month. Like those are two completely different businesses. The same thing that you're going to have the same problems. You're going to have the same obstacles, just at a varying degree, right? Between 6,000 and 60,000, but you're both going to have problems, right? You're both going to run to the same problems. So it's like, it's completely up to you as far as like how far you want to take it, because obviously the bigger you want to get, the more problems you're going to have, right? Trying to make 6,000, you're going to have problems with customers, trying to get more customers, upping your pricing, if you want to get to 60,000 a month, okay, now you're going to struggle more with hiring, with making sure you have enough customers for that, right? With getting more space, getting more inventory, getting more so it's all the same thing, just at a different degree. Yeah, so another thing that we could talk about is like right now, because we're going to launch Detail Groove is going to launch some new services throughout the year. We're going to launch some products for Proper Care, our detailing supply line. And even with that, it's like those two things are are also big things that we have to figure out as far as not just the content side of like, okay, how do we get views? But it's like, these are things that like, okay, this is a project that we're taking on for the next 10 years now. So it's like, now we're starting a whole new mountain of work that has to get done. And it's like, you just got to have that mental note of like, okay, it's going to be tough. It's going to take a while. A lot of things are going to like not go well, but it's like your main focus is on the end goal of whatever end goal that is for you. Right. So it's like at every turn, you have to be able to say, okay, I want to do this one thing. I know this one thing is going to take a lot longer than expected, and I'm going to run into a lot more obstacles before I get to that one thing. Right. So, again, for every one solution, 5 other problems come about. So, like for us, it's like if I wanted to go get a new, like just finding a shop, right? It's like, okay, so let me go get a shop. It's like, well, you don't just go get a shop. You have to go look at a bunch of locations. You have to tour them. You have to have the finances in straight. Let's just say it's 1,500 square feet. You need to have a safety deposit equivalent of the first month's rent and first month's rent. So let's say you need to have $3,000 in the first month so you can get that location. And then you say, hey, well, is everything up to your standard? Do you have to go and get some contractors to set up the electrical? Do you have to upgrade the lights? Do you have to upgrade the flooring? Do you have to buy a lot of stuff to make sure it's outfitted how you want it? Okay, that's another problem because it's more money. Then it's like, okay, well, you're coming from a mobile unit. Okay, so then how do you make sure you're able to bring all those mobile customers to your shop? And it's just like, yes, like you want a shop. That's what you want. But then it's like, okay, we'll figure out all these other things before you get a shop. And even once you get to the shop, it's like, okay, you have to figure out how to make sure all these things are working in unison to support the shop. So it's just like for every one solution you come up with, 5 other problems will follow. All right. And that's the way business goes. Like at every turn, you're just solving problems, right? Like a lot of the time, once the day gets started, like if I'm here from 6:30 to call it 6 p.m., right? 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. From 6:30 to 9:30, that's like my time because that's before the editor gets here. That's before like the day gets started with the car. So like I can work on my things for those, whatever it is, an hour, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, for like 2 hours, call it, right? Just, around there. And then let's say once the day ends from like 5 to 5:30, I could probably get a bit more work in. But from like 9 to 5, I'm just like, okay, I'm helping out the editor. Like, what do you need? What are we doing? Okay, let's go do this. If Lex needs help on a vehicle, so hey, I'll go out and help you. It's like throughout the days, like I'm just helping them get their jobs done because they need me to help them be successful. And again, I don't want to just be here and be like, oh man, I want to start my business, but I don't want to go through all these problems. Again, this is something that like happens over time, right? Like I could have easily just decided to not bring on Lex as a partner, not hire people, not get a second shop. And I could be working out of Unit 104 with me and like a part-time helper detailing cars and posting on YouTube. Like that would have been a much simpler, easier, less frustrating path to take. So don't think like, although yes, you're going to have problems, it's going to happen. Don't already like, don't jump the gun and be like, oh, I'm already stressed and anxiety because like, wait till you get to that point, like it's just how it naturally goes. But just know like it's going to happen because that's the only way. Like you're creating something from scratch. You're creating something that you have the vision for. So like it's 100% up to you to look at that vision, outline the steps to get there, and then execute on that plan. And yes, a lot of obstacles are going to happen, but again, that's 100% up to you to overcome those obstacles, develop solutions, and then actually implement them so you can keep on moving forward, right? Like that's whether you want to make $6,000 a month or $60,000 a month, it's going to be the same thing, right? It's totally up to you. And if there's one thing that like I try to like kind of tell people every now and then is like, well, don't be scared to dream though, right? Like don't be scared to set goals. Like, if most people could snap their finger and say, oh yeah, we make $50,000 a month, I think most people would say that, but a lot of people won't because it's like, oh, but that seems like such a big goal. That seems like so much I have to do. That seems like, that just like that's for someone else, not for me. And it's like, well, why can't it be for you? Right? Like, I'm not saying you're going to hit the 50,000, but like, don't be scared to set a bigger goal if you think that's out of your reach, because is it out of your reach? Do you know your true potential? Do you know what you can really do in this life? Do you know if are you saying that like, you're just never meant to like reach for the stars? Like, of course not. If you want to dream bigger. There's no one in life telling you that you can't other than yourself. Like everyone wants to talk about the trolls and the haters and, oh, they're just making fun of me. They're trying to, hate on me. But the biggest hater is yourself sometimes, because you would like to set this bigger goal, but you're saying, oh, that's for someone else. That's not me. I can't do that. A lot of times you are your own biggest limitation to what you can achieve in life. So it's like, just think to yourself, like sit down, go for a walk for a little bit and say, why can't I set a bigger goal? A lot of times it's probably going to come to yourself saying, yeah, I guess I'm just kind of scared to do that. Like that's oftentimes how it pans out. So like, hey, look, if you want to add another zero to your goal, for revenue per month, if you want to push a little harder, I would say 100% do it, right? Because like, even if you fall short, right? Like if you said, okay, I want to make 15,000 a month, but you only make 12,000, is still better than if you hit if you set like a 6,000 per month goal and you hit 6,000 per month. Like also like it also kind of makes sense as far as like you still have a higher goal even if you miss it because you set a higher goal in the first place. Hopefully that makes sense. But I'll go ahead and end the episode right here. Thank you very much for tuning in to another podcast episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to comment and leave or like this video. And then thank you if you're just listening to this on an audio version. I really do appreciate every single listen. I will talk to everyone on the next one. Bye-bye.